Hey, what's going on, guys? So this is the final review of the poppers that I had from August's Tackle Warehouse topwater hardbait order that I did, and this is the Strike King HC KVD Splash Popper. And just like the other two, there's a lot of similarities, and this one also has two sizes. It has a 2¼ inch size, and then it has the 3 inch size. So basically, it has the same size, even though they're not, the dimensions aren't exactly the same, but it essentially has a smaller like popper size, and then it has a larger like this Donna Vino here, like the 3/8 ounce size. So it has a 1/4 ounce size and a 3/8 ounce size. With that being said, that's not what they weigh. The smaller one is a 2¼ inch, and it weighs in at 3/8 of an ounce. That's the smaller one. And then the bigger one, which is the one we have here, is it's 3 inches in length, and it has a weight of 1/2 ounce, which is quite heavy for a popper, and it's a topwater floating lure. And again, you guys, that weight, I mean, that's let's see, the Rico here. The Rico was 7/16 of an ounce, which is actually fairly heavy for a popper. Generally, the big ones are about 3/8 of an ounce. So that's about a 1/16 of an ounce. This one's about a 1/16 of an ounce heavier than this one, the Dawn 3/8. This one's about a 1/16 of an ounce heavier than this one, and this one is about a 1/16 of an ounce heavier than this one, which is about an 1/8 of an ounce heavier than this one. So I mean, you're just kind of going up in scale there. And you guys can remember in my last video that I told you I would talk about the casting and all that stuff. So I'll get into that here in a minute. But the first things that you notice about this bait are I noticed the hooks. It's got black nickel-plated hooks. It's the only one of the three that actually has black nickel-plated hooks, which is something that I like personally. It doesn't really make a difference in performance or any of that, and it doesn't mean the hooks are any better. In fact, of the three lures, this lure seems to have the softest material as far as the metal is concerned of the hooks, because it seems to want to bend. It's almost springy, which is pretty much par for the course with Strike King lures. I mean, a lot of people have had complaints with the HC KVD square bill crankbait. A lot of people like to replace those hooks with other more stout hooks. And as far as poppers are concerned, I'm usually keeping my drag pretty loose, so I'm not going to replace these hooks. I don't think that they're so bad that I'm going to have issues with them bending the hooks out unless it's some 6 or 8 pound Goliath bass. I feel like the hooks are going to be fine for me personally. I'm not going to be throwing a popper out there for a lunker, even though that one might bite it. So they come with a really nice feather treble hook on the back here. You can see that they put some kind of a compound on it to kind of seal up that thread. They got a little overzealous when they did it too, because it's on the feathers. This one isn't so much on the feathers as the other one is. You can see it's got the thread. You can kind of see the thread underneath there. It's got the really nice feather. I mean, personally, I think that Strike King did a really nice job with this lure. I mean, they put some features in it that make it resemble some of these more expensive lures, like this Rico that is about $21, or the Dawn, which is about $15, when this one's only $7. So, and it has a pretty nice sound to it. It definitely is not the same sound as the other two. I mean, the sound leaves something to be desired, which of the two facets of poppers that I'm looking for, this one is probably the lowest of those three lures, because it doesn't have that good of a sound to it. And I don't know how it's going to show up on video. The other Strike King here. And then, where's the Dawn? Here's the Dawn. Oh wait, no, that's the Rico. And then here's the other Rico. And then here's the other, and here's the Dawn. And then here's the Strike King. And here, not a fair comparison, but here's the Rebel Popper. Smaller lure, so it's not really a fair comparison. With that BB bouncing around in a smaller chamber, it's not going to resonate as high as these other ones. But it's definitely still it has a nice sound. You can tell that they tried something there, and you can definitely hear it when it's out there in the water. You just cannot hear it like you can these other two clowns over here. I mean these other two poppers, they're definitely louder than the Strike King. You can tell that it's got these two weights, the two balls here on the back, and I'll show you the Rico. The Rico doesn't have those two balls on the back. They're kind of just evenly distributed throughout the whole bait. It's got another one up here, and then it's got a small one that is more of a rattle than it is a ballast or anything like that. You can kind of see it bouncing around in there. But what does that mean for this bait? Those two balls in the back actually make this bait cast exceptionally well. I mean, it blows these other two completely out of the water as far as castability is concerned. A half-ounce bait, obviously, it should cast fairly well, but for what the size of it is and for it being a popper, overhand casts all day long, and this thing just wants to fly out there, very similar to like a small spook or something like that. I mean, it just does a really good job of getting it out there. So if you guys are casting from shore or something like that, or trying to reach something from a distance and that you want to throw a popper or something like that, I think that this would be a pretty decent bait to fit that bill there. This bait does come with an oval split ring on the front, which for some people that's a nice thing. I'll probably end up taking it off because I like tying loop knots. Just something that I've done for the last couple of years, and I tend to like a loop knot better than the split rings nowadays. But I used to like split rings a lot. So, and to be honest with you, a split ring and a loop knot pretty much accomplish the same exact thing. Some people want a popper to walk. Personally, I can't understand why you'd want to walk a popper. If I want something to walk, I'm gonna grab a spook. But that's just me personally, and I know a lot of people find poppers very effective for walking. That's just not what I pick up a popper for. These two weights in the back will allow this bait to sit like this in the water, very similar to a Rebel Pop R. And that also causes this bait not to recover, or it causes it to want to recover back to this position, which means that you can't, it seems like you can't pop it multiple times in a row. Like you get one or two, maybe three, and by the time you get to that third one, it starts to chug down and wants to dive down underwater. It is a heavier bait. It wants to sit like this anyway, so it's going to sit lower in the water anyway. So all that stuff combined, it just doesn't want to pop as many times in a row as the Don or as the Lobina. The Rico and the Splash It just really seem to do a better job of being able to pop it multiple times in a row over the Strike King here. So, but it still does, as far as pound for pound, pop for pop, if you will. If you were doing one pop for one pop, I would say that it does as good of a job as both of those two higher priced lures. But where it falls on its face is when you want to do it multiple times in a row. This bait just doesn't want to do that, and that's fine. I mean, some people don't want to work their popper that fast anyway, and there's something to be said for a lure that wants to sit in the water like this anyway. I don't know if it offers more to a bass. Some people might say that a bait sitting like this would be better. I guess it just depends on who you are. Are you the type of person that likes one that sits flat in the water and is easier to use? Or are you the type of guy that wants one that's sitting up and down like this and is offering more of a profile to the bass? I guess that's up to you guys. So I've got a couple colors here. I think this one is clear minnow or something like that. Clearwater minnow. Clearwater minnow is pretty much ghost minnow. You can see that really nice purple effect when I'm holding it off angle there, and then it goes back to that pretty much overall brown. It's obviously a transparent bait. It's got a painted on scale pattern on the back. The bait is completely flat. It doesn't have any scales on it or anything like that. You can obviously, it's got the recessed three-dimensional holographic eyes there, and the bottom's got a little bit of white on it. So there's Clearwater minnow. This other color here, you really can't get bone wrong. I mean, it's there's really no paint on the bait. So with the exception of this orange that's here on the bottom. It's got bleeding gills and orange on the bottom. It's got an orange mouth. This one had a red mouth. So bone has always been a pretty successful color for me when I'm fishing a popper. There's bone. All right, guys, so I really like, personally, the Strike King popper, the splash popper. You're going to pay $7 for this lure. You're going to pay $15 for the Dawn. You're going to pay $21 for the Rico. And there's many others out there that have this type of shape to it. The D-Pop. The D-Pop was another one that has that same style of shape to it. I got others in here. There's an Excalibur. There's a whole bunch of them, you guys. I've seen probably another half dozen more come out that I don't even have yet that have this same style to it. So, and I think that Strike King did a really nice job with this lure. It does not perform like the other ones, but it does do some things better than the other ones too. So, and for a $7 bait, I think it's worth it personally. So if you guys like the review, please give me a like over here in the lower left corner. Really appreciate that. And stay tuned for the next review. I think we're going to do some flat-sided crankbaits next. Thanks a lot, guys.